your host, Kassandra Lauren Gordon of the Black Creative Handbook podcast. And I'm here dropping gems and knowledge to make sure you have the manual to be successful in your creative and business endeavors. We know that the odds are stacked against us, but it's okay. We're resilient and we try until we get there, because what we produce is greatness and the world needs it, especially in these unprecedented, very confusing political times. And for artists and for creative businesses, it's not as easy, but as again, we will thrive. So today is talking about how to have a mega successful 2022. You might think, well, Kassandra, we're a few months before the end of 2021. Why are we doing this? And there's a quote by Benjamin Franklin. You probably know it. Fail to prepare, prepare to fail. And we don't want to fail. Well, kind of, and I explain that later. The reason why I'm doing this is I'm a bit of an early bird. I like to be as prepared as possible. Let's us think now before all those memes. You know those memes of the auntie stepping on steps, leaving stuff in the other year? We don't want to wait for that. Let's start preparing now. The earlier you prepare, the more likely you're going to be successful. We know that preparation can't solve everything, but it can, manage our expectations and help to break things down into sizable, biteable steps for success. So I did a bit of a quick audit of three things to make sure how I'm going to be successful, hopefully, for next year, hopefully. Will. Okay. And the three things which I think is really helpful to share with this audience on this platform, which can help all Black creatives to get to the next level for 2022, is reducing fear. Reducing fear. The second thing is to increase the confidence. If I can say confidence, say it with my chest, confidence of decision making. And the third thing is executing the strategy. Execution of the strategy or strategies. So the first thing I would like to talk to you about, which the first thing I said was reducing the fear. And I think I've talked about this in other podcasts, on my solo podcast, talking about reducing the fear. And it's super important, because even though people say for a lot of Black people, you've got to work twice as hard, even though some people can be our counterparts, some can be quite mediocre. You just have to, even though you're visible, but you're kind of invisible at the same time. And it's really important that even though you've probably grown, some of you, into some spaces which are not people who look like you or have your best interests, is to block out all of that noise. It's to block out, like, you can't do this, you're less than. And I find that very frustrating for Black creatives, because sometimes when I come to a table, like a meeting for institutions, organizations, it's like Black people get crumbs. And we're not about having that mindset. I think today this podcast is all talking about our mindset. It's like, we're not accepting crumbs. You have value. Face the fear head on. I'm going to give you some examples, some very loose examples. And I think I gave some examples of a podcast, like when I came to London X amount of years ago, came with only £200 in my pocket. I've just applied for roles what people didn't expect me to do. I became a fine jeweler when people told me not to be one. I found a way. I, for instance, did the KLG fund. I didn't know where it was going to go. I just put something on GoFundMe and I raised thousands of pounds in like an hour. It's having that kind of self-belief, like, just to start and reducing that fear. And I'm a person who has struggled with a lot of fears, and it has prevented me of doing things. And I think the more as I got older, I'm less likely to take risks, and I just have to face the fear. And today, I know it's a bit of a small thing, but you see, I pierced my ears today. Listen, I've been thinking about it for years, and I thought, if I'm doing this podcast about facing my fears, I've got to face one thing. So I went to Claire's Accessories today, And I was like, I'm going to get my ears pierced. And I was in front of a baby who did not know she was going to get her ears pierced. And I'm thinking, I cannot look shook in front of this baby. I got to take the hit because I don't want to give no nervous energy to a baby who doesn't know they're going to get a bit of a pinch or a bit of a pain in their ears today. So I just had to just suck it up and get my ears pierced on both sides. This side was quite painful. I don't know why. This didn't even hurt, but this side did hurt. And I just sucked it up and take all of the pain. There you go. And you know what I did? I hate also facing the fear. I hate taking my pictures. I hate taking pictures, believe it or not. I hate it because I've had this fear that growing up in certain environments which weren't as black friendly, that I was really ugly and I don't look like a Kardashian or a Beyonce. So if I'm not Beyonce, basically I'm ugly. Very all or nothing thinking. And I booked a photo shoot. Just booked it, just paid the money, just booked it. Even though it scares me to death to take pictures. I'm very self-conscious about how I could look online. But now I'm embracing it slowly by slowly. And also for me, even to, you know, do loan application, investment funding application, think I'm not going to get it. I just don't business, just facing that fear. And even another example, I started to do a documentary. I director of a film. I've never directed a film in my life. So it was a very huge learning curve, which I would never forget. So it's just really facing that fear. So I wrote some notes because, like, you know me, I love to be practical. People love to give like lots of talking, but I love to give people practical knowledge about how they can do that. So it was really understanding as a creative that you are a problem solver. You're not always going to know everything, but start with something small. Start with something. Sometimes you might not know the answer, or sometimes you have some options. You don't know which one is going to be better than the other one. Well, think about ice cream. You know that there's vanilla, if you like it, banana, and chocolate. Some days you gotta go with the chocolate. Sometimes you go with banana, but you have to move forward. Keep on going with something until you find what works for you and that situation. So that's really important. So when I say to myself, when I get stuck, oh, Kassandra, should I do this? Or Kassandra, should I do this jewelry? And I'm scared because I'm investing and I don't know if it's going to work out. And I said, well, if I don't try it, I'm going to be stuck. I'm not moving. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it. So I have to just sometimes, I just got to let go of the fear of money. And I don't know if I explained it in other podcasts that I've got this weird, used to have this weird relationship with money. Where, like, you know, I grew up on benefits, very poor. Money is seen, you know, not attainable. And I freak out when I'm spending X amount of money on certain things. I feel like I need to save, be a little squirrel. But sometimes you just got to take those calculated and sensible risks in your business so it will pay off. And you can harvest your fruit of labor. And also you need to really think about, as a Black creative, some of us are very sensitive, just as a creative nature. A lot of us sensitive souls, it's like maybe going to therapy and understanding where your fear is coming from and investing in yourself. Why do I have to pay for therapy? Just do it. Sometimes if you have the means, just do it, because for talking for me as a creative, it's really helpful for me to go through therapy and understand why I have fear of certain things in my business, fear of me doing creative things because I'm frightened to be judged. As an artist, trying to get validation, where as an artist I should be like, look, my stuff is just as good as anyone else's in the world. Just put it out there. So overcoming those kind of things, right? Shocking. Some people think, Kassandra, you're so, you know, you're so confident. You're so confident. You can do this. Yeah, I'm confident in a lot of things, but my art and putting myself out there to get judged by the world is, I find that sometimes a bit scary. So I'm just trying to be prolific, being the best like jewelry designer I can be, and just put my stuff out there. And people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. But I know in my heart I produce something which I like, and usually it works really well. And also, it's just realize that sometimes you're gonna fail. You're gonna fail. if you're going to reduce the fee, you just got to let go of the outcome and enjoy the process. And you might fail, you might not get there in the time frame where you want to be. But you just have to start. The second thing is about increasing your confidence in decision making. So it links to, I guess, the first point. I've realized, especially when I was doing the documentary, it's like I usually like a very democratic approach. I like to sense check things a lot with people. I'm like, what do you think? What do you think? Because I think it's from childhood, like I always want everyone to be okay. And I realized sometimes you just gotta go with it. You just have to take full responsibility of everything. And working with this production crew, I had to learn, like, from the music to the titles. I had to be so specific and research what I wanted. I couldn't just go off on a general idea. Every decision, creatively, production wise, was my decision, technical or not. And I had to learn a hard lesson of taking responsibility of everything and how to communicate. Because I just thought, oh, they just understand. No, you have to take that responsibility in what you do, increasing your confidence. And the more you do that, and the more projects you take on, so that you can handle it, the more you do that, the more confidence you do. So confidence is always being increased by doing, not by theorizing, not sitting on your armchair, not writing a journal. It's actually doing it and taking that risk. Also, what I've learned about in increasing your confidence in decision making is trusting your intuition. I used to be good at this from, I don't know, because my childhood, I got to learn and check out people quickly because people are a bit sketchy when I was a child. And growing up in my adolescence, I had to work out people's quickly or just assume for the worst. And I realized, like, trusting your intuition, your gut. And as I got older, I don't know what happened when I came to London in my early 20s. I'm like, oh, let me ask this person, asking like 10 million people, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? This is not sense checking, like when I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm just checking if it's, okay. I'm like, before I even get to a decision, before I even get to, the basis of this idea or something tangible, I'm like, oh, should I do this? What do you think I should do this? Do you think I'm good at it? I don't know what happened. I just think I didn't have really supportive people around me. And I just asked anybody, people who weren't even qualified to do certain things in the creative fields or jewelry, I would ask their advice. And I'm learning, like, not to take advice from people unless they've really done it and they've been successful. So when people say, I want to look at your Instagram, let me do this, I can do this. And I'm just like, no, because you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing. Obviously, I don't say that to their face. I'm like, okay, I take what I need to take and go on. But unless you're not super successful doing it, I'm not listening. And I got to trust my gut and have patience. So that's very important, is trusting your intuition, trusting your gut. The other thing about increasing your confidence in decision making is to accept sometimes, most of the time, I would say 95% of the time, that there is no right or wrong answers. So that goes to what I was saying about having different flavors of ice cream. There's fireworks outside. You can tell what time of year it is. You just have to go with something. Obviously you have to evaluate, best case, worst case scenario. If you want to do a SWOT analysis, if sometimes you have to fall back a little bit and sit and wait if you're unsure about something, but there's no right or wrong answers. And when something is wrong. So what I'm trying to just say in a nutshell of increasing your confidence in decision making, you have to just go with something and stick with it until, you have to pivot. So the third thing which I audited to help me to have a successful 2022, because the last couple of years, just write it off. It's a write-off, but it's going to turn around. If things are picking up, I feel it with my bones, right? I feel it. So I hope this will be helpful for you, is to execute the strategy. Execution. I thought about this at the supermarket today. I thought, executioner. And I thought, that's a bit morbid, being an executioner with a gauntlet and electric chairs and all that jazz. I thought, execution her. Execution and her. H-E-R. You get it? It's a bit corny, but I thought, oh, that's cool. But I'm sure some like mommy blog or some, I don't know, Tech Sandberg or Bray Brown or, you know, those TEDx kind of people, copy and paste, you know, those people who are, you know, women leaders would do something like that. So execution her. That is what I need to do. I'm really good at ideas. I'm very good at doing operational things. I'm good at strategy. I'm good at ideas and structure, but are all of my strategies implemented from idea to creation to tangible products? Not all the time. And I have to prioritize what strategies, what I'm doing, and let it go instead of just changing, being a magpie. Oh, that's shiny, that looks easy, let me just try that, let me try that, let me try that. No, got to stick with something for at least 3 months so I can monitor and evaluate and understand. So let me break through about how to execute a strategy and help you win as a Black creative or as a person for 2022. So number 1, you have to commit to the plan. Whatever you're planning, you got to put the resources and the time to commit. If you say you're going to do it, you're going to do it, and schedule it out and know what you're doing. Now, some of you said, well, I don't know, I haven't tried this before. And some people have their timetable. I'm going to spend X amount of hours on this on a Monday, or this and this on a Tuesday. That might work for you, but it can. But I have a pre-thing. I like to do rapid prototyping, and I like to scope. I'm the scoping queen. So when I mean scoping, I need to test things. Before I put all my energy in something, I want to test something, a small, break something, a task down small. And so for instance, if I want to do a content planner for my month about what content, I'm like, let me test a few posts first. Does that go well? That went well. Okay, I'm going to use it. And I'm going to test out how long it takes me to do this post. How long does it take me to do a press release? How much time does it take me to do graphics, to schedule? And I'm like, okay, that takes all the way that 14 hours of my time. So now I know I can schedule. Once I have a good record about how long a task takes, the average, then I can do the scheduling. Okay, this is Monday, do my press release, that takes 3 hours. The scheduling, some engagement, LinkedIn, all that kind of stuff, right? So the resources and the time. If you don't commit the time, if you don't make time for it, you're going to fail. Prepare to win, not prepare to fail. And a lot of things I forgot to say about this point, about committing to a realistic plan, what I'm just trying to say. Once you break down and you know how much time and resources needs, it kind of limits the firefighting, because you know your strategy, you know where you're going. And when something pops up, I should do this. Or if it's something, an emergency, you do it. But with a firefight, it cuts that out. You get the basics right. The other point I think I said is to set in the goals. Then that comes in the plan. Make sure you have clear, tangible goals. And within that, it's the performance management, it's the monitoring. So for instance, for Instagram or something, you're just like, okay, if I'm doing X amount of posts, what is the return on investment on that? Do I get a sale from that? Is that an engagement? Is that a brand awareness? As press picked it up, do I get a collaboration from that? What is the goals? Yeah. I have my next point is communication with my team about executing this strategy. So I have a very small team I work with, and it's letting them know this is the vision, this is where I want, this is my expectation, putting things on Trello. I use Trello. Trello is like a team collaboration tool, and say, look, on a Monday, this is what I want. Tuesday, this is what it is. Wednesday, what is there. It's communicating the expectation hours, what people should spend on tasks and deadlines. I am deadline queen. I'm like, what's the deadline? And I try to work on what are the milestones and how to work backwards from that. And I'm thinking, okay, should I add a bit of slippage time just in case, if turnarounds is coming up to Christmas now, you know, COVID, sometimes if there's another lockdown, things could happen. What can I do? So those are the things which are very important. It's executing the strategy. I like to keep things simple. Because some people say you need to do this, you need to do that. You got to do what's right for you. But the main thing is that you know how to tangibly do from the creation of your strategy goals. These could be visions or lofty things, and make it into hard, tangible things, products, things I can touch and see and measure. You're like, oh, I'm a creative, I just feel. You're going to feel it with your bank balance. I tell you that, if you don't execute your strategy. I cannot be eating beans for the rest of my life. I cannot. I have done it. I have been starving artist. I need to get full. I need to get my belly to be fat. And my bank account. Our bank accounts. Okay. So those are the 3 things as a quick recap. So we talked about reducing the fear. Super important. We talked about increasing your confidence of decision making, being strong. And we just talked about the importance of taking the time to execute the strategy. There's no point, there's a strategy if you can't execute it down to the T. So I feel that being very successful for 2022, you start now, not when everyone's like, oh, New Year's resolutions, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Because I don't know about your New Year's resolution and vision boards. It don't work all the time, but looking at this, reviewing weekly your goals, weekly your strategy, weekly your weak points, where you go doing a quick audit to 3 things which you're going to improve on, or 3 things you want to achieve for the next year. Best to start that now. Please let us know in the comments of the 3 things, if you see this on YouTube or you hear this on whatever platform. Please be in touch. You have our details in the show notes or the video notes. Please let us know. I really would appreciate it to know what you're going to do. I gave you 3 of mine. I hope that is really helpful. Make sure you do that quick audit. Just keep it simple. I remember I've spent thousands of pounds of business strategy people to help me, and just for strategy, I was like, I could have done it myself. I could have went on Google. Google's your best friend. I could have done it myself. And I'm trying to save you money, because I have wasted money for people to tell me basic things which I should have done and take the time in doing it. But me chasing this like rainbow, like, oh, there must be a secret strategy. No, it's just hard work and grind. It's not sexy at all. But what is sexy will be your bank account when you take the time and resources and do the audit to make sure you're best prepared for 2022. The double 2s. Double the bank account, double your life, double the art, double the creativity. That's what I'm all about, that life. All right, this is the Black Creative Handbook podcast, the manual to help you with your creativity and success. With your host, Kassandra Lauren Gordon. Support and connect. Speak.